Black-owned Spotlight Show. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Day, and this is the Black-owned Spotlight Show, where I get a chance to sit down with some of today's most influential and inspirational Black business owners and open your mind to life beyond a 9-to-5. So today I have a very special guest. She is an artist here in the city of Houston. She has been doing big things in the city. As you can see, nothing that she really does is small. But her name is Miss Jasmine Janelle of the Jasmine Janelle collection.
Yes.
Yes. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, blessed. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I am more than grateful for the opportunity to be able to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in.
Okay.
All right. So Jasmine, artiste.
That still sounds so funny hearing it. Sounds so weird.
I'm sure you're used to it by now, though.
I'm getting there.
So when we were briefly chatting, we were talking about how you got to this moment, not this moment, but this place in your life, and how you've done a lot of jobs. So just briefly, like, give us an overview of just like how you got here.
I've always been an artist. I've always been creative since I was a kid. I was always the little girl who was rebellious. You told me to play with dolls. I'm like, why? You say, well, the dolls are for girls and the blocks are for boys. And I'm like, well, why? So that kind of gave me this umph about, well, who said? Yeah. And so it was this, okay, well, you say I can't play with this, I'm gonna play with it anyway. Like, what's gonna happen? And that's where I really kind of feel like I was able to really kind of tap into my creative side with building blocks. I love Legos. I love taking things apart, putting things back together, seeing how things were constructed. If I saw a car, it wasn't me just seeing the car. It was all of the details and the fine things about it. I went to a magnet school, Coulter Elementary here in Houston, where you learned several different languages. You were exposed to the arts and dance and music and choir. And that was a huge and vital thing in where I am today, because most kids were going on field trips to, like the little farm, the Old McDonald farm, and seeing things like that. And we were going to the Museum of Fine Arts. We were going to operas and ballets and stuff as a kid under the age of 8. So I was able to see how art in the art world was constantly transforming and how important it was to our history and self-expression. And I really think that that's what catapulted me into being the artist that I am today. Just really having an appreciation for the arts at a young age, and just carrying it with me over a decade at this point.
Yes. So you talked about finding your way. I'm all about following your dreams and doing work that fulfills you. That's part of why I created this show, was to, to highlight entrepreneurs that are have unique careers and are doing things above like the status quo, or like, the basic things that you would see. But also because I like to talk to people who followed their dreams, and this is where your dreams got you, because I think these are the types of stories people need to see in order to be like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna work at this 9 to 5. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go do whatever. And even if you're not working for yourself, if you're even in your lane and you're doing what you do, I know people that don't necessarily work for themselves, but they're doing what makes them happy. So they're happy to get up and go help somebody, or go be a part of a bigger mission, but it's still fulfilling them. So what would you say? Was there like something that you can remember where it was like, okay, so I need to do art now? Because you said you did engineering, you said you did nursing, you went through all these things. So is there a story behind how it just became, okay, art, or?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna be honest. That is a trigger question, but I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna answer it to my best ability. Okay. I've always been an artist. I never was not an artist. Now, even though I was not putting emphasis on my craft day to day, I've always been an artist at heart. I knew that. I didn't know how I was gonna manifest it, never even thought about manifesting it. I just was always an artist. But there was a time, maybe a handful of years ago, I found myself in like the pit of hell with mental health, with severe depression, PTSD, anxiety, all of these new things that I just wasn't ready to accept. I was in school for social work with a focus in mental health. I had worked with psychiatric institutions, so I was like, of course, not me, because I'm the one who is professionally trained to help other people, so not me.
Yeah.
And I just remember struggling with that battle. Was just a very strange and draining point in my life, in which I couldn't think straight. And if you're a religious or a spiritual person, people always say, well, pray about it. But that's the one thing I wasn't able to do, because if anybody knows what prayer means, it's a form of meditation. Meditation means to focus, to discipline and focus on one particular thing. Well, when you're suffering with mental health issues or depression or anything like that, the first thing it robs you of is your focus. You can't focus. Your mind is all over the place. So it's almost impossible to meditate. And it's like, what do you pray for? If you grew up Christian or Baptist, you know that things like mental health and depression is not commonly talked about, so you almost feel bad, like, oh my gosh, am I like possessed or something? So it's a very strange fruit that I feel like now looking back, it was a blessing. Literally a beautiful nightmare is what I call it, because while it was the worst thing I've ever been through in life, it stripped me down to the point to the only thing I had was what I truly had, which is my ability to create something from nothing. I felt like nothing at that point, but I was able to create these feelings that didn't exist in my reality. I was able to create happiness on a canvas that I couldn't really feel. I was able to create joy in a moment that I didn't feel joy. I was able to have peace when I didn't really feel peace, but only while I was creating, only while I was painting. And I realized, like, I've been painting for 3 days, and I actually feel pretty good.
I feel great.
But I only feel great while I'm painting.
Yeah.
So that became a coping mechanism for me. Now, mind you, art was always my thing. I could always create. So I was automatically just like, hey, I'm doing what I love already. It just happens to be working for this other situation, so why not? And I never stopped painting. I taught myself to paint 2 years ago.
Really?
Drawing was tedious. I was still thinking about things. Painting was a little bit more free-flowing. It was a little bit more less controlled. The way paint moved was just so fluid, like water, and I found so much tranquility in just being able to sit and paint. So, you know, they say practice makes perfect. Well, I was painting at such a rapid rate because I was always stressed out. I was like, as long as I'm painting, I'm calm. So I needed to paint all the time because I was never calm. Here we are 2 years later, and I paint 7 days a week. Painting replaced my job that I was working. Painting replaced me having to take some kind of medications that I didn't want to take. Painting became my therapist. Painting became my coping mechanism. Painting became my new way of life, to where I was able to sit for a moment and just say, okay, we can do this. And that's just how it happened. That was my pivot point, literally dealing with depression and anxiety to where it was debilitating, and painting and art was my coping mechanism. And it became more so like my way of life. It's like a diet. A diet only works while you're doing it.
It does.
This became a life change, long life change, to where most people can't look back and say, I dealt with severe depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and I walked away from that.
So would you say that in you, transitioning into becoming a full-time artist, because you were an artist the whole time, but making this your full-time job, were there naysayers, were there
of course
doubters? How did you handle that negativity coming in?
I didn't handle it. I didn't handle it. I prayed to accept the things that I could not change. And Lord, if this is for me, then it's for me. I didn't go and seek validation in other people about what I should be doing, because when I was in that dark space, those people weren't there to get me out. God's gift that I was born with is what got me out. So he gave me something so precious that I've always had, always stuck with me, but when I didn't even know I needed it is when it manifested itself in ways that I could never imagine. I could never imagine. For me, I was just using this as a coping mechanism and a hobby. But I realized that people were being impacted by me just creating, by me just doing what I love. And on days that I was at my worst, I was creating beautiful paintings that moved other people. And they were like, oh my gosh, this moved me so much. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, like, I just put all of my emotions into that. You don't realize that I painted over so many tear marks when I was painting that picture, and to you it's just beauty. So you're like, oh, I like the little dark effects. Those are tears.
Yeah.
I just gave you a piece of myself. Every time I did a painting, I healed a little bit more, because I remember the mental war zone that I was in when I was painting so many of these paintings. And I just remembered, every time I sell one of these paintings, I'm healing a little bit more, because I'm shipping off a little bit of brokenness there, a little bit of brokenness in each painting, and just to light up somebody else's life through my brokenness was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how does this work? This doesn't, what? Like, I'm not in a happy place, so how can so it was just weird, and I just realized, you know what? There's something deeper about this, and I didn't know up front. I just was painting, and people just liked it.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh my God, I think I have just answered the ultimate life question, which is, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing in life? How can I impact this world and impact people? How can I use something that I went through, not necessarily for some kind of attention or sympathy, but to let people know that it's life.
Yeah.
Things happen. You can get through this. I've got through it. We can get through this together. And let me give you something, or let me show you how to do this, to where you can find some amount of peace, or some amount of middle ground, to where maybe you can go back to your faith. Because again, I struggled in my faith going through that.
Yeah.
I didn't get back to it until I started painting. I could only pray when I was painting, because that's the only time my mind wasn't all over the place.
So we're gonna pivot. Jasmine Janelle, artiste.
Yes.
How can people who want to commission you for a piece make your life easier as an artist? Or actually, before we answer that question, what are your pet peeves as an artist?
Where do I begin? So some of my pet peeves are when people message me on Instagram and say, do you paint? Or do you paint portraits? Or, hey, I'm looking for some artwork. You have artwork? And sometimes the smarty pants in me wants to say no, but I know someone who does.
Yeah.
And then tag myself. But I'm like, yeah, I have art. Like, you came to my art page, messaged me on my art page, and asked me, do I have art? Okay, that's a major pet peeve. Second pet peeve is when, and this is something that's very common, but understandable. This is why I try to educate people, and it's how to commission an artist.
Yeah, that's important.
Most of the time when people reach out, they and they just know one thing. I want art, and you're an artist. That's it. They don't have a vision. Some people say I'm not really creative. I know what I want, but I don't know what I want. I just want something, and I want you to do it. So it's like, okay. But one of my pet peeves is like, you have to help me help you. I'm an artist, but I'm not a magician or a psychic. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you have in mind. I don't know your vision. You have to help me help you by, let's do some context clues. Let's do a scavenger hunt. Where are you looking to put a picture? Do you want a picture of a person? Do you want an abstract picture? And then that kind of unravels, and we start moving from there. What's your color scheme? If you don't have a color scheme, what colors do you like? You know, so these are things
so come with ideas.
You have to come with some ideas, because at this point in age, everybody knows there's no house in the world that doesn't have art in it. Whether it's the end table, whether it's the furniture, there's some type of art or creativity in every home. Even if you don't know what you want, it is kind of like a collector responsibility. When you go into a store, you don't walk into a store and say, hey, I want something from this store. I don't know what I want, but I just want something and I want it to fit. And they don't take off running. Their door is open. They give you a range of things that they display to you. From there, it's your responsibility to kind of walk through and say, hey, I kind of like these things. How can I put them together? Or, hey, I kind of like this, but do you have it in a different color? At that point, you help them help you. It's the same exact way. You have an Instagram page or a website. That is my store. that is where you see my displays. You go in and you're gonna browse through my displays. From my displays, you can let me know, hey, I like these particular things. I'm interested in something similar to these things. At that point, I'm able to build a vision. The worst thing to do is contact an artist and pressure them and ask them a billion questions, but you're not giving them any answers. You can ask all the questions you want, but if you're not giving us that vital information so I can create for you, then it's just a really stressful situation. I like to talk to people, get to know you. I want to go through your page. What kind of person is this? What do they like? You know, are they single? Are they married? Do they live in a home alone? Do they have children in the home? This is going to help me build a vision of what I can create for you. I'm not going to give you a sexy erotic painting if you live in a house with 2 or 3 small children. But if you're single, I'm not necessarily going to say, oh, you can only get an abstract, you know, something that's child safe. I mean, I have different types of clients. Everyone wants something different, but it's about studying your client, getting to know your collector on a personal level, because they'll tell you a lot. Most people tell you about themselves. Hey, I'm this kind of person. Me and my husband, you know, we both work. We're pretty busy. We, you know, we're always in and out. But that helps when you see like someone's really energetic. You want to give them energy in a painting. Yeah. I've had people who are not energetic. They're very monotone, very mellow, very just kind of just almost flat. But that's just their. So you don't want to give them anything too crazy unless they're saying, hey, I want something really crazy. Or like, hey, you know what? I like to keep it safe. I want it neutral. Then you give them that. But it's all about communication and opening up. But this, of course, like I said, this is something I'm trying to get better at educating people on when it comes to commissioning an artist. It is like going into a store.
I could really sit here and talk to you all day, and I'm like, you know, we still got to do the painting. We actually have an activity that we're going to do. We still have to do that. So one question that I like to ask on my show is, what is the advice or just some what's some advice that you would give a young artist, you know, just trying to figure out how to do this and not really have to, you know, that to be as in a blessed position like you are to be able to do this full time. A young artist who's just starting out, wants to be a full-time artist, wants to do this for a living. What's your advice to them?
I'm going to give you the most honest answer that I can give.
Okay.
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Because this was not something that I chose. This chose me. This was not a job for me. This was a passion and a gift that I just took full advantage of. Lots and lots of people ask me about, I want to do this full time, how do I do it? I can't answer that question because it may and it may not be for you to do full time. And
it may or may not work for them too.
It may and may not work for you. I can't say that this is what you're called to do. I can't say that this is going to be your lifelong. I don't know if this is a gift or if this is just a hobby that you're just taking advantage of right now. You know, for some people, you might be an artist and you might be really good at your art. You might not be a good business person. Or you might be a good business person and you might have good art, but you might not be really personable. Or you might not have the time. Or you might have all of those things and you don't really have the dedication or the passion to do it.
I thought you were going to say, or you can't draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people who can't draw. We have a lot of abstract artists who can't draw a line. But that's where abstract art comes from. So when it comes down to when they say, like, you know, what would you tell an upcoming artist? I would say, just stick at it. Just keep trying different things until you figure out what works. I can't tell you how to do this full time because I don't really know how to do this full time. It's just happening and unfolding right before my eyes, and I'm still trying to process what the hell is going on here.
Yeah.
You know, I got some blessings that I can't even begin to explain or process myself, so I don't have the rule book to it. The only thing I know is I'm just being obedient. I'm taking this day by day. There might be a point in time to where I say, you know what, I'm going to go back and get me a job. But as of right now, I'm just living. And I'm just having fun, and it's just working.
But in a way, you did answer the question because you said this is, you know, this is for you. This is what you felt in your heart. So maybe it's like, you know, if you feel it in your heart that you are an artist, just keep it in your heart and just keep being
do it.
consistent.
You know, it's I don't have any 1, 2, 3 step. Do exactly this, that, and that. You know, that's what some people might be looking for, is that type of answer. But I think that's something that every artist goes through, which is, how do I do this? And some of us are just blessed to just do it, and it just happens. It's not anything you plan. Okay, on this day I'm gonna start doing art, and then I'm gonna be a full-time artist by this day, because being a full-time artist doesn't always mean that it suffices, or that you can maintain a life on being a full-time artist. That's where starving artist comes from. Being a full-time artist, but it's not, you know, it's not enough to sustain. You know, you're sleeping under your canvases. It's not enough to sustain. You got to ask yourself, is this realistic for my life right now? You know, for me, I don't have any children, not married, so it works for me. You know, it just works for me. Just follow your heart.
So that's what it is, you guys. Follow your heart. Do what works for you, and just don't be afraid. Be consistent.
Be consistent. Pray about everything. Don't feel like because other artists are flourishing and you're not, don't feel intimidated by that. But also don't feel like, you know, that's you don't know what they went through to get there. You don't know their storyline behind that. Exactly. Be patient with yourself, and when the time is right, everything that's supposed to happen for you and for your art and in your business is going to manifest itself. You're not going to have to do anything other than what you're already doing.
Well, I think that was a great place for us to go ahead and put our smock. It's a smock, right?
Yes. We'll be putting our aprons. We'll be putting our aprons on.
Aprons.
To go ahead and start paint pouring or fluid painting.
All right. So you guys stay tuned for that. So we are about to do paint pouring. Paint pouring, I said it right?
Paint pouring.
Okay, so this is the fun part of the interview. Normally you guys just see me sitting down, chatting with the entrepreneurs, but I wanted to kind of revamp the show and get a little bit into more what the entrepreneurs do and actually have you guys kind of see a little snippet. So that's what we're doing today. So let's get started.
Yay! So first things first, we have our canvases. This is just a blank white canvas. It's a stretched canvas. You can find this at your local art store, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. I wouldn't get any high quality canvases if you're just going to be doing like at home hobby crafts with the kids. I wouldn't necessarily use these for my big professional paintings, but it's totally up to you. Also have some paint. Now this is just some cheap Anita's Art Decor art paint. This is what I use for kids' parties. It's non-toxic, it's washable, doesn't have all those crazy chemicals in it, and again, it's just easier, it's cheaper, it's convenient to just go grab it at the store and just have the kids play with it. But it also comes out with some really cute and nice effects on paint pouring for beginners. So first things first, we're gonna get our cool little cups. Doesn't matter what cup you have, it just needs to be a cup. Now if you have a smaller canvas, you do want to use a smaller cup. I don't have any clean smaller cups, so we're just going to use halfway to this one and we should be fine. Now if you're doing very large canvases, like 4 foot, 5 foot and bigger, of course that you would not use a small cup method. So for today we're going to use our cute little Renaissance cups. We've already picked out our colors that we're going to be using. We have several colors here that we're going to be using for our fluid paint. You can use any colors you want, as many colors as you want, just have fun with it. So right now what we're gonna do is just pour our paint in our cups, okay? So you can pick any colors you want and you just pour them in your cup.
Just all together.
And so what it is you're just gonna, I'll do like a quick squeeze and I just kind of alternate, quick squeeze, and you can use as little or as much as you want.
And how did you get into paint pouring?
It started trending online, of course, like all other things. I experimented with it one time and I really liked it. It was really therapeutic for me. I was dealing with very bad anxiety. So I noticed that just seeing the paint mix and mixing those different colors together was very therapeutic for me. So I really just kind of started doing it as a hobby. I was already an artist. I already knew how to paint. but this style of painting was just very calming for me. It was something that was easy to do. It didn't require a lot of tools or anything, and it's something to where you never know where you're gonna get next. You can pour it 5 or 6 different times, and you just never know where you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's kind of, so backstory. If you've been tuned into the Black Owned Spotlight show, you did see my last interview with Odds and Ends. And Mr. Jewel is actually Jasmine's cousin.
I love you, Martell.
So when I walked in his house to do our interview, I saw Miss Jasmine's, it's not a painting. What's a canvas?
I did a canvas for his mom.
She did a canvas for his mom. And when I tell you this is big, beautiful canvas sitting in their living room, and I walk in and I'm like, oh, that's Jasmine Janelle's canvas. Like, how do you know her? I'm trying to get her on the show. And he's like, that's my cousin. And it's just a full circle moment. So it's so crazy we're here. I was with him for the last episode, but yeah, I've become a fan of these paint pours. And honestly, since I've watched you do the paint pours, I have noticed it more around the city. Like if I'm in like a corporate building and things like that, I'm like, oh.
They stand out more now. And it's not that they haven't been there, but what it is, it's like a car. Once you get a car, all of a sudden you'll always notice all of these other people that have the same car as you. It's not that they've never been there, but now your eyes are going to be more drawn to things that you're more familiar with. Just like when artists start painting certain things, when you start painting portraits, you'll never look at a portrait the same anymore. You'll always say, oh, I wonder what colors I could use to get that. I wonder how I can make that do something different. 40 people could use all of the same colors, pour from the same cups at the same time. They still won't come out alike. Everyone's picture is very unique. How much you use and how much the next person use is going to be totally different. So you're always going to get a different outcome that makes yours a little more unique for you than the next person.
So paint pouring is kind of the equivalent to your fingerprints. Nobody's ever going to have the same one.
This is true. This is true. And what I want to do is, can you pick one of these colors? I just want to give you just a pop of something. Yeah, go for it. Moss. Okay, now that's fun. All right, so we both have about half a cup, which means my cup is only full to about right here. You don't want to use a full cup for a canvas like this because you're going to just waste most of your paint. It's all just not going to stay on the canvas. So we're going to move these out of the way now. This is the fun and messy part. So what we're gonna do is there's 2 different ways we can do this. You can just pour it on your canvas, or you can do the flip cup method. I like pouring because with the flip cup method it all just gushes out. With pouring, it's a lot more controlled. You can, kind of figure out where you want your paint versus it all just kind of splattering out and with the big surprise.
Okay.
So we're gonna do the pour it this time. So we're gonna lean it just a little bit, and we're gonna kind of go in this catty corner here. I don't like putting it right in the middle because I like to, we're gonna pour from here to about here. Okay? So go for it, and you just wanna kind of make sure you're getting all of that paint on the canvas. Probably could have used less paint for this, but whatever. Let's have some fun. Oh, there's my blue.
Oh, I like it.
And now just go towards your middle, and all of that is still coming out. You just want to drizzle all of that on. Ooh.
Like a sundae.
I like that. And see, the colors you're using, we didn't even know how they were going to blend, but that pink really opened it up.
These are giving me real psychedelic vibes.
Very much so. And actually, that would glow under the black light because that pink is a fluorescent.
Oh, let me go get a light now.
So now we're gonna just take the bottom of it, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of use this seesaw method of just kind of teetering but in a circular motion. And as soon as you see it get to the end, you're just gonna kind of shift over.
Oh Lord.
Don't be afraid.
It's okay if it gets on the table.
Of course.
Okay.
This is a paint workshop.
Yes.
Paint on tables
I'm
means
so like, I can't get dirty.
Paint on tables is a beautiful thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hope y'all can see this real good. How?
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful.
There's gonna be paint on my braids when I leave here.
Oh, I really like this. What colors did I use?
You mixed them already?
Yeah, But you remember, I didn't use any orange.
No, you didn't.
Ha ha ha. So this is it, guys. So pretty, right? Oh, I like that.
I still got some white on mine.
Yeah, and so what it is where you have your white at, is where you're gonna kind of lean it to. Now, mind you, there are some areas that sometimes I have white in those areas. Yeah, and as soon as you get there, now tilt forward. Yeah, so it's like timing. As soon as you see that paint just barely kiss the edge, you want to tilt back the other way. Oh. Because at that point, once it kisses the edge, it already has wrapped itself around the edge. When you go to tilt it the other way, then at that point you're stretching it. So now you see that their pink was over there. It stretched the pink more so across the canvas. Yeah.
Come on. Bring it around.
It's giving me very spring vibes with the greens and the pinks. And you did you? I think you used just a tad bit of purple.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
That little white is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine, because sometimes what we'll do is we'll just take this, and sometimes you gotta tell it to go.
Tell me when to go.
Tell me when to go. So yeah, so like I said, even though I didn't use orange, I have a significant amount of orange tones. I used lots and lots of pinks because I was very adamant about using my pinks. I used yellow. The orange isn't even on the table. Where did I? Oh, you know why? Pink and yellow make orange. I'm an artist, I should know that. Pink and yellow make orange.
Like, where's this orange coming from?
I didn't use any orange paint at all. I used no orange paint. The colors that I used were pink, turquoise, yellow. I use hot pink, fuchsia pink, also a soft petal pink for this. And as you can see, it gave me a very beautiful orange, to the point I actually think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to keep note of that, and I'm gonna do one of the large ones in something very vibrant like this. I really, really love these colors. They're super fresh, vibrant, but just not too neon. And I really just like how this came out.
Yeah, this reminds me of the painting. There's a painting when you walk in her studio, and it's kind of giving me this vibe of the painting that's right there with the paint dripping off the girl a little bit.
That is by Maverick Reigns.
Yes.
That was my gift to self from the Maverick Reigns. Check him out, The Art of Mav. And I'll also tag that somewhere in one of these videos.
Yes. Okay. So now what happens?
So now usually what happens is this sits to dry, because as you can see, there's just these puddles of paint, and you can even see in our puddles, we even have pretty puddles, guys. But I usually leave this here. I leave this here usually for about a day or two. When it's warmer outside, these tend to dry a lot faster. When it's cooler outside and it's cool in the shop, they usually dry a lot slower, which is perfectly fine because they're meant to just sit dry naturally. And then once they're done, usually I'll top them with an epoxy or a resin, or I'll add stones or glitter, whatever I decide. But this, for the bulk of it, it's done. And this is when we sit and we let it dry and we let it sit flat, because if you don't sit it flat, what happens is your paint is wet, so it continues to move and dance around even when you're not here. I've had some big canvases to where they're sitting there and they're all beautiful, and I come back the next day and they look nothing like that, because the table may have been slightly leveled, which means that the paint all night was just inching, and to the eye you're like, oh, it's perfect, but really what's happening is at a very slow speed, your paint is moving off the canvas. So you come back to the shop the next day, all your paint is here, and you just have a big blob of white or gray, whatever your base color was.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Imagine being somewhere just mixing it up.
Imagine
you come back the next day.
Yeah, imagine coming to the shop and you're like, yeah, it was beautiful, I can't wait to show you. Then you get back and it's like, it's just a blob, I lost all of my paint. So these are just small things to where when you get into your bigger works of art, or even just these small works of art, you want to make sure you're on a very flat and leveled surface. You want to make sure that you do not disturb this while drying. If you're doing this at home or with your kids, this is something you do not want to do in the house. This is definitely an outside project unless you have a workspace that you don't mind getting paint on the floor. Of course, always cover your clothes if you don't want to get them dirty. Your hands will be dirty. I always say take off rings if you can, if you don't want to get those dirties. Tie your hair back. This is really important because sometimes when you're leaning over a canvas and you're working, sometimes if you have longer hair, it'll drag through your your painting. And now you've just messed up your design.
Has that happened to you?
Several times. Several times. I have several different scenarios where I have paint in my hair. People are like, you have something in your hair. And I'm like, please don't touch it. It's been there for 4 days. Please don't touch it. It's paint.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are just small tips that you definitely want to use. This is non-toxic, guys. Unless you have extreme allergies, you don't necessarily need gloves. I'm just a weirdo. I like to feel paint between my hands because this is what I'm used to. If you don't want to get paint on your hands, then obviously you can use a latex glove. Try to use something that's really tight because anything that drags is going to stick to your canvas, and again, you're gonna lose your design here.
Yes.
So yeah.
So I think that this was great. I can't wait for my painting to dry and I can get Jasmine to sign it because I got a Jasmine Janelle official.
Of course, we'll even
canvas.
gloss it for you. I'll gloss it complimentary for you, so it looks all shiny like this and stuff.
Thank you. But yes, so it was so great to chat with you today and to just come to the studio. I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule because you guys, she is booked. she is booked and busy. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to allow me to come and interview you. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
Instagram, Jasmine Janelle _collection with the X, COLLEXION. That is my only page. I do not have several different social media pages. I have one art page, which is Jasmine Janelle _collection. Follow me. DM me about any questions you have, even if it's just how to do this project on your own at home. I'll be more than happy to do a virtual consultation or do a virtual class with you and your family or your kiddos.
Okay, and you guys can find me on Instagram at Day to Day TV. The Black Owned Spotlight Show does have its own Instagram page now. It's just the Black Owned Spotlight Show. And then you can find all your latest episodes of the Black Owned Spotlight Show on YouTube at Day to Day TV, where you should be watching this anyway. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and press that subscribe button. Go ahead and press that notification button so you can see anytime the Black Owned Spotlight Show has a new episode or anytime I post a new video. So this has been another episode of the Black Owned Spotlight Show. I really hope that this interview and seeing this today has opened your minds up to being creative and, you know, just getting out there and starting whatever hustle you said you were going to start in 2021, because it's time. All right? So that was another episode of the Black Owned Spotlight Show. We will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.